Australia has announced a new military and humanitarian aid package for Ukraine worth $73 million. The revised aid package includes 28 armoured vehicles, 14 special operation vehicles and 28 armoured trucks. Australia has also announced that it will extend duty-free access for goods imported from Ukraine for further 12 months. Australia is one of the largest non-NATO contributor to Ukraine and has been constantly supplying them defence equipment. Australia's total contribution accounts for over $610 million ever since the Russian invasion began last year in February. More than 1,500 anti-war protesters gathered outside NATO's Ramstein air base and demanded the withdrawal of US military from German soil. The air base, which was built in 1951, is used by US forces to support NATO's military operations in Europe and Africa. The air base also plays a critical role in relying all drone signals for the United States. The Ramstein Air Base is the largest US military base overseas. It is also believed that the air base has nuclear warheads of the United States. German protesters believe that if air base is under attack, local people will be plunged into an unwanted war. At least 9 were killed and 30 injured in Russian strikes in Syrian city of Idlib. Russian jets bombarded villages and towns in the area in a major flare-up of violence in Syria's last opposition stronghold. Russian Sukhoi jets struck a vegetable market packed with people ahead of Eid. The Russian forces also bombed villages in the Jabal al-Jawiya region. This falls in the buffer zone carved out by Russia and Turkey that ended fierce fighting about 5 years ago. Moscow has grown impatient with Turkey, a major backer of the rebels, saying it is not doing enough to evict jihadists from the buffer zone. According to newly declassified US intelligence report, North Korea is likely to use its growing nuclear arsenal to coerce neighboring countries and is likely to take bigger risks with the country's conventional military forces. The National Intelligence Council report titled North Korea Scenario for Leveraging Nuclear Weapons Through 2030, dating back to January, the report was declassified on June 15th. And according to the report, North Korea will take military risks under the belief that nuclear weapons will avoid robust US or South Korean responses. Now, fighting continues between Sudan's military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces group in the capital city of Khartoum. RSF reported that they have seized the main base of a heavily armed police unit. The RSF in a statement said it has taken full control of the large base belonging to the Central Reserve Police, southern Khartoum. Sudan descended into conflict in mid-April after months of worsening tensions exploded into open fighting between rival generals seeking to control the African nation. At the invitation of Chinese Premier, Vietnamese Prime Minister is in Beijing for an official state visit from June 25th to June 28th. This is the first official visit by Vietnamese Prime Minister to China in 7 long years. This meeting takes place at a time when both the countries are celebrating 15 years of their comprehensive strategic partnership this year. Now, during the trip, both the countries are expected to strengthen their economic and trade cooperation and also implement infrastructure projects between the two nations. During his stay, the Vietnamese Prime Minister will hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Authorities in Myanmar have destroyed more than $446 million worth of seized illegal drugs. Now, this comes amid a warning by UN experts of increasing production of opium and heroin in the country. Myanmar has a long history of drug production linked to political and economic turbulence fueled by decades of armed conflict. Now it is a major producer and an exporter of methamphetamine and the second largest opium and heroin producer. Just last year, authorities burnt a total of more than $642 million worth of seized drugs. The burn coincided with the UN International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. At least one person was killed and several others were injured in a roller coaster accident at an amusement park in Sweden's capital of Stockholm. Sweden's public broadcaster said that the park's jet-lined roller coaster partly derailed during a ride. Ambulances, fire trucks and a helicopter were seen arriving at the park. The police investigation is currently underway and as per reports, the 140-year-old park was closed until further notice. The Honduran government announced curfews in 2 northern cities. This was after more than 20 people were killed overnight in separate attacks amid escalating violence in the country. Heavily armed men opened fire on Saturday night in a billiards hall in a neighborhood in the northern manufacturing city of Choloma. The attack killed about 13 people and seriously wounded others. President Castro announced a 15-day curfew in Choloma between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. effective immediately. And another one erupted in San Pedro Sula effective July 4th. In the Greece election, Conservative former Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis is on the course to win a second term by a landslide victory as per exit polls. The exit polls and Mitsotakis has 44% of the vote. And on the other hand, his leftist rival Alexis Tsipras has less than 20%. Jubilant supporters of Mitsotakis gathered outside party headquarters in Athens to celebrate the party's victory in the country's second election in 5 weeks. The previous election, conducted under a proportional representation system, left him 5 seats short of a majority.
Για δεύτερη φορά
At least 3 people, including 2 men and 1 woman, have been killed and 5 others were injured after a Sunday morning shooting in Kansas City. This is according to the Missouri police that has initiated an investigation into the 2 shootings. An initial investigation by police indicates the gathering took place outside an auto repair shop. Police were told that 5 other shooting victims were injured and they were not facing any life-threatening injuries. They arrived at various hospitals by private vehicles or ambulances, and so far no information has been shared on any arrests made in the case as well. 2023 has been particularly tragic as far as incidents of gun violence are concerned in the United States. At least 50 people were detained by Turkish police after Istanbul's LGBTQ community defied the ban and carried out their annual Pride March. Pride Parade had been banned in Istanbul this year along with other cities as the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan continued his crackdown against the community. Hundreds of people defied a ban on Pride Parade in Istanbul and gathered in rainbow-colored flags to celebrate Pride. The group gathered in Mystic Park instead of the traditional venue before organizers called on them to disperse. The change of venue followed deployment of riot police at traditional venues.
Emniyete gelirsin, adliyeye gelirsin.
Travelling through Bengaluru's state-of-the-art airport is going to get more seamless now. Passengers travelling through the airport can now get real-time queue status of entry gates, check-in counters and security check areas, as well as flight status updates through a mobile application, BLR Pulse, operated by the International Airport, is now live and is expected to provide passengers a unique, interactive and hyper-personalized user experience. S&P Global Ratings has retained India's GDP growth forecast at 6%, saying that it will be the fastest growing economy among Asia-Pacific nations. The GDP growth forecast for the current and the next fiscal has been kept unchanged from the forecast made in March, partly on account of domestic resilience. As far as its forecast on inflation goes, the rating group has said that headline inflation will soften to 5% for the fiscal year. The Japanese military is on its way to adopt Starlings technology in the coming fiscal year. The technology being tested is Starlings internet satellite service. While the Ministry of Defense already has access to communication satellites, adding on SpaceX's technologies would add another constellation of satellite in Earth's lower orbit. It is a rather precautionary measure for countries to build resilience against the risk of jamming of communications or attacks on satellites in case of conflict arises. Now, interestingly, Starlink's technology is already being used by Ukraine in the battlefield, and Russia is making all the attempts to block the same. Now, WhatsApp has unfortunately become one of the most infamous apps for scams to occur. This time, online scammers have circulated a new link to install what is being called WhatsApp Pink. In a recent advisory by the Indian police, officials have strictly warned people to stay away from this new scam. The Pink version of WhatsApp claims to offer many new features and enhances the WhatsApp experience. But it is a phishing link that can give hackers access to users' confidential data. From financial scams to loss of contacts and personal information, hackers can harm any which way. Now, couples compete in a wife-carrying contest held at a Scandinavian midsummer festival in Canada. The team members identified as husbands have to carry their wives or a friend through a course filled with obstacles. To take part, carried team members, not necessarily women or wives, had to weigh at least 50 kilograms or wear a rucksack stuffed with items. Now, those who passed the finish line first are crowned winners and have the chance to compete in the World Wife Carrying Championships hosted in Finland during July. Scientists now believe a big advance in cancer treatment could be a vaccine not to prevent the disease but to shrink the tumor. Researchers now claim a turning point in cancer vaccines that could be out within 5 years. However, scientists have expressed that these aren't traditional vaccines that prevent disease, but shots to shrink tumors and stop cancer from coming back. Drug makers Moderna and Merck are jointly developing this vaccine. The vaccines are customized to each patient based on the numerous mutations in their cancer tissue. A high-speed electric train designed to shuttle pilgrims to various holy sites during the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia has become operational. The service was introduced back in 2010 and its main purpose is to transport pilgrims and visitors. Tests were conducted over the past 10 days. The head of public relations for the Saudi Railway Company said that the train line will shuttle around 2 million pilgrims this year. Over 2 million Muslims will take part in the event as one of the world's largest religious gatherings return to full capacity following years of coronavirus restrictions. Over to some updates from climate and weather. After a 14-day delay, India's much-awaited southwest monsoon finally arrives in country's financial capital of Mumbai, while the country's national capital Delhi got the taste of monsoon 2 days earlier than the predicted schedule. Between Saturday night and Sunday evening, Delhi's primary weather observatory recorded at least 50.7 millimeters of rainfall. The minimum temperature in the capital region was recorded at 23.1 degrees Celsius, that is at least 5 degrees below normal. And the maximum was recorded at 29 degrees Celsius, that is 8 degrees below normal. Smokes from wildfires in Canada shrouded the Canadian city of Montreal on Sunday as the city clinched the status of most polluted city in the world according to an air quality index. Several events across the city had to be cancelled due to the harmful smog. Montreal's triathlon race was cancelled due to the poor air quality, while local authorities reported of sports facilities and swimming pools being shut down. Hundreds of environmental activists wearing red jumpsuits and carrying banners and flags marched onto the grounds of Tata Steel in a coastal city of Netherlands. Led by Greenpeace, the activists were joined by local residents who are unhappy due to high levels of heavy metals in nearby soil. The facility is under scrutiny by environmental agencies, and prosecutors are investigating alleged intentional pollution of nearby groundwater, which Tata denies.